Hollywood is waiting on bended knee to find out if Trump tariffs are on the way for anybody who dares film and produce outside the US of A. Yet Kevin Feige and the MCU are moving all of their jobs away from Atlanta, Georgia, straight on over to the UK. Is it a thumb in the eye of the Orange Man? Will Kevin Feige come back to greatly regret sending the Avengers over to the land of the Brits? We'll explain why billions are on the line right now. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, lend us your ears and, I dare say, your minds, for we have the time right now to share together understanding what it is that's going on in Hollywood under the surface. What are they doing? What are they daring the President of the United States to do to them? And is it all based on economics, or is politics at play as Marvel says nay to red states? Click the like button and let's dive deeply into this one. And out of Breitbart, we've got Disney's Marvel Studios is abandoning Atlanta, Georgia for cheaper labor costs in Europe. But is this Kevin Feige sticking his finger in the eye of the current administration? We'll take a look at it in just a minute. This is by Warner Todd Houston. It says the film industry has already pretty much abandoned Hollywood, devastating thousands of jobs, but now it is abandoning Georgia, which, by the way, Georgia, we reported on this earlier in the year, had surpassed California in terms of Hollywood productions, first time ever. It's abandoning Georgia and other southern states where it went after dumping La La Land. It's all about the Benjamins. It says Georgia, which has been called the Hollywood of the South, created an entire industry in the Peach State after a suite of tax breaks were initiated as an incentive to entice film and TV production to the state. Other nearby states, such as Louisiana, also jumped on the bandwagon, and it worked for years. But now Hollywood has found another and cheaper sugar daddy overseas. The Wall Street Journal reports that many Hollywood productions are fleeing Georgia for the UK because Britain and other European locations are now offering even heftier tax breaks as well as cheaper labor costs than Georgia and the U.S. states. Quote, the tax incentives lured studios to help build the Hollywood of the South. Now they're going overseas for cheaper labor costs, the paper reported. The Journal notes that Disney and Marvel are leading the charge to abandon the USA. Now, here's what I would say about this. You all remember the celebrities who said that they did not want to go back to Georgia. They didn't want to work in Georgia again. Then Georgia went blue for an election cycle, and that saved the day for a little bit for Georgia and its Hollywood peeps. But after the election, things have just crashed, and Disney and Marvel now moving everything, literally everything. Marvel was one of the biggest supporters, along with Netflix, but Marvel was probably one of the biggest supporting Atlanta, Georgia. Now they're gone. They moved everything, literally everything, to the UK, and I don't buy for a second that labor costs are cheaper. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, folks, if we go back in time just a little bit, back to the end of May, I know that's a long time away, right? A whole 2 months because, well, that's basically the 1st of June. Inkstick was reporting on this, Hollywood versus tariffs, how Trump's foreign film ban could backfire. As global productions fuel U.S. box offices, Trump's 100% tariff threat on foreign films could cost the industry billions and deprive Americans of international stories. So it was like 2 months ago that they were all freaking out. Trump has not said anything additional about this, and yet Kevin Feige and Marvel have decided to pick up their tents, grab their campers, their RVs, their trailers, and take them on over to the UK. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, wait a minute, is this very intelligent? If John Voight comes back and says, here's the plan, and Trump says, yeah, we'll do that, and they put tariffs on movies that are made overseas, and plus, Jonas, we're going to get to see how much the Avengers lose, because when you're in the UK, they have to reveal exactly how much money they spent on a production. And then we compare it to the box office, and it gives away the whole deal. So, Jonas, I see this as very precarious. And the only reason that I can see that they would want to risk it like this, not knowing what's going to happen with those tariffs that we haven't heard about lately, the only reason you would do that, I believe, is politics. I don't buy the economic argument. Maybe there's some modicum of savings, but I truly do, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is my gut not getting it the hunch this time, but I think that Kevin Feige and Marvel decided, maybe the celebrities too, said we're not going to go down to the Peach State anymore. We're not going to participate with red states. What say you?
I think it's complicated. There's also the fact that Bob Iger was given a knighthood I do believe, a couple of years ago, because of all of the business that he's brought into the UK from this tax scheme. I say scheme; it's fully legal, but also the fact that Wall Street Journal has made this into a political thing by framing the article as something that Trump needs to respond to. I think there is probably some political aspect to it, but I think they will go where the smoke blows the best. How about that?
Well, I hope that's not the case, because I know where there's some smoke blowing when it comes to Marvel and Kevin Feige. That's right. Everybody who's worried about what we're going to say with the G-rated show, have fun. Marvin, your thoughts on the idea that everything, not some things, everything Marvel does just got shipped to the UK the year after Trump gets elected.
Right. I mean, you can't ignore that reality. And of course, Georgia, was a blue state in 2020, switched to a red state in 2024. That might also have something to do with it. But Disney, the all-American company, supposedly the house that Walt built.
Well, that's a good point.
Now is moving its production out of the United States, costing Americans jobs. And that, I think, and that's what we focused heavily on, the job loss aspect on our article about this on That Park Place, because I think it is just so hypocritical of Disney to just basically take all of take everything out of the United States. So now it's not like they just moved to a different state. Like, moving from California to Georgia, you've got a lot of like grips and camera people and stuff like that. They could relocate to Georgia. They could pack up their families and move. Moving across the pond, that's an entirely different
and it's not going to happen
there.
It's not going to happen
because they've already got their own people over there.
Right. The whole point of the UK tax incentives is for the Brits that live there to get these jobs. So
Correct.
these are literally evaporated jobs that are not coming back to Americans, so long as big companies like Disney just say, we're done with being in the USA for the filming.
And what's crazy too is, if I'm Disney, the last thing I want to do right now is take all of the money that I'm spending on all of these overpriced productions and put them right in front of the face of Jonas J. Campbell.
Yeah, well, now is Culture Mountain is just about as close to Haunted Mansion. Jonas, we're getting audio from you, I think.
That's strange. What happened?
Well, I was like a little hummingbird.
I don't know what was going on, but that was scary.
It was. I was afeared. Hey, Culture, let me go to you though and ask this as I get my bearings back a little bit.
A young priest.
Culture, as we look at what's happening with these jobs moving out to the UK, one of the things that you got to say to yourself is, now wait a minute. It seems like Disney and these other companies were priced out of California. They found a place that was more amenable to them. But then they didn't like the politics that made the lower costing places, and they said, we'll go to the UK instead. So what say you about this? How long until they're looking elsewhere again?
Hard to say. I mean, the UK is pretty corrupted, kind of in Hades right now. So the fact that they already had substantial studio facilities there made it an easy place for the relocation. I'm not really going to fault them all for that. It's just that, you've already established quite a few facilities. They were working at the jointly owned, I think it was Chick-fil-A studio that was established there. But look, Disney is just going to do what Disney does. And if it's all about politics, which I'm not sure it is, but if it's all about politics, then they're in for a rude awakening if Trump decides to, put, tariffs on these types of things, which he certainly could do.
Well, imagine if that happens, Culture, because John Voight's supposed to come back with a big plan to save Hollywood. Yeah, imagine if John Voight comes back to Trump with a plan, and it's in, let's say it's brought October.
Right.
And they've already committed to moving everything Marvel to the UK.
They've got problems then. And I you know what? I think if I were Trump right now, I would be looking at retaining that industry.
Oh,
how do you retain that industry?
Well, Georgia's a swing state.
Well, there's another thing you guys have not discussed.
Go.
And that is both executives and actors that are staying in a location for a long time prefer to be in a civilized area. Now, I'm not saying that Georgia's not civilized, but if you're going to compare it to London or Toronto, and I've talked with actors, American actors that stayed for months here, they really love Toronto.
Yes.
a livable city. And it's good food. It's a place that you can stay. Atlanta is not a city that anybody wants to stay in.
And I'll say this too, Paul. So I don't want to make a statement as to the quality of either Georgia or Atlanta, but Atlanta is distinctly different than the rest of Georgia.
Sure.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
Georgia's not the UK.
Right.
Georgia's not London.
I'm with you.
The culture there is something that actors, and like if you're a producer, and I've seen this where you land on the set only to walk through it for a few minutes and then head off with some woman that has been arranged for your approval. And I've seen this. I have seen this. It's not a
Never
joke.
participated in it. Always an observer.
But I have seen it. And then, they go off to downtown London to like a 5-star restaurant, and you just, there's not that kind of world. This is why one of the reasons London is so popular, apart from the tax credits that people don't talk about, is that the lifestyles of the individuals. It's one of the reasons why the UN will never, New York cannot afford the UN to leave, because all the despots who bring their concubines over to New York to shop at Fifth Avenue would die if the UN left. So there's a cultural thing, there's a human thing. This is one of the reasons why people like being in certain cities, and I just don't think the state, as much of the fact that it's got a massive studio set up now, like the square footage that they've got in Georgia is
well,
huge.
Trillis Studios in Fayetteville is amazing. They basically, and they also kind of have a city complex there, which you can cater to your food, drink. There's facilities there.
It's not a cultural,
perhaps.
And then the actors and producers do like the cultural aspects of where they're staying.
Well, the cultural aspects of London are not so attractive these days, but okay.
Maybe not. If you're rich,
but to that
you're
demographic,
rich, you won't notice it.
Yeah. Ron, you've been on some sets before. What are your thoughts about the idea that all this stuff is being moved out to the UK? And I think Paul has given us some great insights as to why that might be, beyond just the political, but also the cultural. But your thoughts on what it means economically to Atlanta?
First, I mean, it's not good to Atlanta, but I was assuming that they all just missed Rachel Zegler. She's over in London. And they want to go over and embrace her, right?
She was the precursor.
Yeah. So no,
she was the female Silver Surfer.
I will say that because of the proximity of Orlando to Atlanta, I have a lot of friends who have in the stand-up comedy business who want to act, move to Atlanta, get their get their agents there and stuff. And so what it's really going to hurt is the extras, the people that have these side roles, these smaller roles. As a matter of fact, I have a pretty good acquaintance that ended up with a pretty major role in Hawkeye because of that very reason. He's one of the tracksuit mafia, one of the main tracksuit mafia guys. Great guy, love him to death, did a fantastic job in the role. And it's going to really hurt Americans like him, American actors, and then of course all of the technicians. I mean, God, there's so much work. I mean, we're talking about a Marvel production, so when you're looking at the credits, when you stay for the credits, and you see the thousands upon thousands of names in those credits, and if those were American jobs, and now they're all moving to London. That is, it's not great for the economy of Atlanta, Georgia, which was so friendly to Marvel. I mean, think about the culture. That city was so friendly and so welcoming to Marvel. For them to turn their backs on it, just for financial reasons, it does seem a little bit. It's just there's something that doesn't feel quite right about that. And it's a beloved city, Ron, to Hollywood because it's an ultra. Let me say it again. Ultra in all caps liberal city inside a conservative state, right? So that's the paradigm that exists in Georgia. Is it's a battle between the state and the capital, right? The capital is distinctly different than the entire rest of the state, and therefore it's a swing state.
I think that this actually exponentially increases the chances of Trump doing a tariff because it's a swing state. Again, he's going to do, I think, what it takes to either punish studios for doing this or encourage them to come on back and not be punished. Whether you think that's right or wrong, up to you, but I think that's what's at stake here. I'll hand it back to anybody else who wants to wrap up the topic in particular. Give us your thoughts on whether or not this increases the chance that those tariffs do come to fruition.
I think it almost guarantees them.
Yeah, I mean, this whole move does not make sense to me. I mean, I understand where Paul's coming from. Basically, I get it. Georgia, you can't, and that's why they don't want to be there. Let's be real. No, like the whole thing is kind of silly, but I'm just beside myself because I could see this going like what you guys are just kind of set it off with, and that is you guys are going to be able to break down and tear apart every little bit of their budgets.
Oh yeah,
because of this, and the tariffs are not. This just doesn't make any sense to me when every other studio, including, you know, the ones that have been so, you know, anti-conservative, are learning that this is helping us more than it's hurting us by trying to keep movies in the United States and specifically in Hollywood.
Most
right?
of
Like
these
that,
movies are done at several cities around the world.
That's true. And you have that when you have jet-setting movies. But for the most part, what we're missing, Paul, and this is what we talk about every morning on the morning show, or every, you know, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, is that the mid-level movies are gone, right? Well, what facilitated a lot of those mid-level movies was either being able to shoot in places like Romania or Italy and stuff like that. Or you had over here, you were able to get, like, you would shoot it in, you know, some small town in like North Carolina or, you know, somewhere else. And you would be able to find a way to do it here, but you do it all in one spot instead of jet setting all over the world. Cause that's usually where it costs you so much money to do that. And Hollywood used to be this hub of, you know, that's where they had all the studios and stuff like that outside of UK and Canada, which slowly started becoming more and more throughout the 80s and 90s. And then you get to the early 2000s, where all of a sudden Australia starts throwing their, you know, leg into this race too. Because,
I didn't know where you were going there for a minute, Tom. What are they throwing?
I was trying to be
kangaroos?
a little more G-rated, but like, yeah, like, and make it punny at the same time without getting too dirty. But like, no, this whole thing has gotten weird when it's like, no, movies used to be made in Hollywood for a reason. Why? Because in California was one of the only places you could go where you could film within a vicinity of like a 30-mile radius and get almost every single type of setting you would need without having to leave the state.
For a
right.
Western.
Well, at that time for a Western, but you can still do it for a lot of other films.
Oh yeah, I know.
And the thing is, though, is they've priced their own business out of their own state. Can you imagine if this was like if Texas decided they were going to tax the oil companies to the point where they couldn't even function in Texas anymore? You know, like, or in Wisconsin or in Minnesota, they decided, oh, we're going to start taxing the dairy producers out the wazoo. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it felt like. It's like, what are you doing? You're destroying your own industry by doing this. Yes, once in a while, you're going to do these movies that have like big, broad things and you're going to shoot here and there and on location. But those used to be more special and, you know, in between here and there. And James Bond movies, which were always UK, right? Like, those were always shot over there because that's what they were. But like, to me, it just feels weird that Hollywood would even decide to try to get out of Hollywood. It's like, that's what you're all about. Like, I don't get this idea. So in the last 20 years, we've seen Georgia becoming a major place. Toronto has always been, you know, as Paul said. What are they doing? Why are they doing this? I mean, I'm glad to see that Trump has got John Voight and all these guys trying to get business back in the U.S. and in Hollywood specifically, because I think that's the key to fixing the mid-level and low-budget movies that we used to have. You just got to make it to where they're not taxed out of the business, basically.
Well, I'll say this, Tom.
California.
When it comes to why would we want it to be in the U.S., you know, beyond just the fact that some of us, minus one Canadian here, are American citizens, it also would have to do with the fact that the UK is not in a great place right now when it comes to saying what you want to say. And we'd rather not have that further influenced into the industries of free speech. So hip hip hooray for the UK, not so much for the Hollywood of the South. Will Trump deliver on what he has said?
Well, Sly
Tom?
had a plan, but they rejected it. Did you hear what Sly's plan was?
Southpaw.
You know, he's part of this crew, right?
What's Sly say? What's Sylvester Stallone say?
You go to the center of town and you take out the cop shop. And once you got the cop shop, you got it all. And you just start blowing everything up. And you know what? And it's just go ahead and it matters. And they just rejected it. It was like,
thank you, Sly. You know, it's always sad when one of these video ends, and yet it is the beginning of the wait for the next one to land. 4 times a day right here on the Pro Channel. And by the way, there's plenty more on our partner channels. That Part Place, That Pod Place, That Game Place, and go check out the original music we have on stations like Vacation Radio. We'd love to have you, love to entertain you. At least we'll do a better job than some of the current entertainment companies. Folks, like, share, subscribe, and you know what? Drop a comment right on down below. Share this out anywhere you go on social media. And until the next time, we have the honor, the pleasure of getting to spend time with you when you choose to invite us into your day to add the value that we hope to bring your way. We ask that you keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.
Jump into the water. Why listen to music made by people and companies who really don't like you? Check out Vacation Radio today and prepare for all new content made by the people behind the WDW Pro Channel. It's the place you need for all the music. That should be fun. Hundreds of songs, every genre you can imagine. Listen live on YouTube and enjoy a set list that's always sunny. It's Vacation Radio. What are you waiting for? Every WDW Pro video has a link to Vacation Radio in the video description. Try it out and subscribe today.